Hello, so this would be my year in books. To get more semantics slash disclaimers out of the way, my laptop is right over here. And when I refer to books read, that will be a combination of physical slash digital books read in addition to audiobooks as a whole. So let's get started. So when I sought out reading this year, I set an ambitious goal of 52 books over the course of the year. I was hoping to do a book a week and just go from there. I'd say from that point forward, I found myself reading a lot and or listening to audiobooks on my commute in addition to whenever I ran errands. So I'd say that's why it's just such a huge number right there. I did read a lot growing up, but I didn't know this was me getting my bearings together and doing a bunch more reading again. I'm all for it though. So going from here, let's look in terms of shortest and longest book. So for shortest book, it was me reading Civil Disobedience by Henry David Thoreau. As for longest book, it would be President Obama's A Promised Land, and pretty much getting a sense of his humble beginnings. You will be hearing the phrase humble beginnings a million times throughout the course of this, as I read a lot of different memoirs. But pretty much his beginnings, him meeting Michelle, in addition of his journeys to come, and how this local organizer eventually became president of the United States, and what he did from there. Moving from here, it's that average book length has been 319 pages, and going from there, my most popular book that I read has been Where the Crawdads Sing, and least shelved one I will not necessarily omit, but it's that I've been trying to talk about career a lot less, but I'll just leave it at it's more of a career focused book and more oriented towards that. Going from here, it's that whenever I rate books in particular, I'd say I am pretty humble, just easily dishing out, say, like a 5 or a 4, and I'll give a 3 to, say, like sort of like meh reads, where it might be dragging its feet at times, and I'll give a 1 to whenever I do not finish, or if I ever do not finish a book in particular. I'd say for the highest rated one on GoodReads would be, this one would be something that's related to my career. I think it's worth mentioning this in terms of talking about different people's experiences, highlighting them and how they might not be your own. For this, it's a different type of book in which it's a collection of different experiences throughout industry and highlighting just different experience overall. I'd say this deserves a video in itself of talking about this book, but I will leave words for this one in further content to come. In Tina Fey's Bossy Pants, I'd say this was my first review on GoodReads itself. For this, it's that I've really enjoyed 30 Rock in addition to other shows growing up similar to that, Kimmy Schmidt, etc. But for this, I really enjoyed seeing just Kenneth, Jack, just all these different people in the 30 Rockefeller area. And growing up, I just wanted to see and get a glimpse into the mind of the person who wrote it. For this, it's listening to her beginnings of more improv type setting, getting hooked on more, getting into this more production bit, producing these shows and writing them out herself, and pretty much just how she got to where she is today. Moving past that, these would be the different books themselves. I'd say to be respectful of time, I'll be highlighting the ones that are just larger in case, but also just pointing attention to other ones as well, if time permits. So for this one, I'd say I started out a lot with different books about love, learning about different people overall, and just more emotional intelligence. Going from there, Black Book was one that was more of the book club book I was a part of. And moving past that, you'll see that there was a handful of memoirs that I read, and I really enjoyed Quinta Brunson's She Means Well. So for this, her beginnings have started as more of a internet sensation, going viral on social media, and sort of having that as a runway for her time on BuzzFeed eventually. She'd eventually produce different type of videos and make her way eventually to producing a show, actually. And for this, if you don't know, it's Abbott Elementary, pretty much The Office, were it to be more of an elementary school type setting, and it's really enjoyable, and I definitely recommend it, where I'm not talking about books right now. Still do recommend it though. Moving past this, I did a good bit of soul searching through talking about different books that highlighted social media, toxic positivity, in addition to different people like Anthony Bourdain and Matthew McConaughey. From this point forward, I really appreciated a book like Matt Haig's at the moment. Is for him, his claim to fame has been Midnight Library, but I can appreciate his focus on mental health and giving a positive light in terms of talking through these journeys. From there, I looked at different books that talk through different people's journeys, such as an H. John Benjamin, who played Bob from Bob's Burgers, and Sterling Archer from Archer, and Ali Wong in terms of her Dear Girls book overall, and moving past that with different people's journeys as a whole. And also shout out to Stationery Shop, which I've been a book club book, but I've been really busy time being. Going from here, I'd like to point attention to Ace by Angela Chen. I can really appreciate a book talking about sexuality from someone who's a more AAPI background, because for this, it's just something that hadn't really been talked about growing up, and I can really appreciate her sharing her journey and making it so that people can connect with it and not feel too out of place if they don't sort of feel like they're comfortable talking about it at time being. But moving past that, I looked at other Asian creators in addition to creators as a whole. Sorry, Bob, I know you're white there. But pretty much, I know that I really enjoyed Mindy Kaling, Jimmy O Yang, and David Chang in terms of different media they produce, and David Chang for the food he makes. Pretty much, it was just getting this mindset of just, for Jimmy, just getting accustomed to his experience in America. For Mindy, eventually finding her way in terms of creating shows, having her voice and sort of finding it. And for David, eventually building out Momofuku and just his journeys as an Asian American in America. As for Bob Odenkirk, I really enjoyed his book, but he comes out very serious, sort of like myself at times. But for him, it's that I hadn't seen Better Call Saul at time being. I'd only seen him as Saul in a Breaking Bad, but I wanted to learn more about him and just learn more about his journey at the end of the day, and just learning more about it through this book altogether. Going from that point forward, it would be bits and pieces of different olden books that have stood test of time, and moving forward from there, just different books that range from memoirs and different ones as a whole. So I actually have We Were Dreamers in hand, in which this was something I had been given during Simu's book tour, and he'd been in Boston. That was really enjoyable at time being, and listening to his journey. Moving forward from there, Colin Jost was really funny in terms of talking through his experiences and how he eventually got to where he is on different media platforms he's been part of. Moving from here, I got myself really into Ali Hazelwood eventually, and I think in days to come, I had actually just binged a bunch of her audiobooks in addition to different Kindle ones as a whole. At this time, I was Also looking into just different novels as a whole, just different contemporary ones and different ones moving forward. Designing with web standards, I'll briefly talk through, but it's pretty much a mentor that had given me it, so I just figured I'd give it a look through. It's valuable in terms of career sense, but I'd like to not focus too heavily on that time being. I'd say moving forward from here, I looked at a bunch of different Asian American creators and just different ones as a whole as I read through that. At this time, I also looked at Eddie Huang. I'd previously read his first book that I was a huge fan of, but the second one sort of feeling a mess or a taste about, but I really enjoyed it as a whole still, and really appreciate still supporting this creator, as I really enjoyed him, his food journalism, and stuff I could probably give just long tangents about if time permits. From here, there are a lot of her-oriented ones, but I really like Little Fires Everywhere and wanted to give that a focus considering I watched more of the show online and sort of wanting to see just like where it deviates and how I could consume it from here. I really enjoyed Lessons in Chemistry and just pretty much getting into my more romantic phase right about now, just consuming a bunch of these books as a whole. Yeah, I'm just casually moving past Dune. I don't think I have an informed enough of opinion about Dune as a whole, and I think similar to different ones I could maybe make a video about it or video essay or different things, but I think that would permit itself another bit. I think from here it would be looking at different ones as a whole. Lotso was a book club read, and Emma Straub had one called This Time Tomorrow, in which it was a really interesting concept, and I really like getting into this one because there was a bunch of building in terms of more world building, and just the characters really flowed well with one another, and I really enjoyed that in terms of things. Speaking of which, this got me a lot in terms of eventually getting into Hazelwood and eventually going through these in a dry run. Moving past this point, I eventually picked up Jennette mccurdy's I'm not going to finish that, but you can finish that. But it's pretty much her talking about just with trigger warnings, just more mental health, which included just like eating disorders and different things from her time at iCarly and a more abusive parent at time beings. And I think she still manages to keep her head up and also make it a funny story come end of day. And I can fully respect her for being able to still keep level-headed at times that challenge her. But I would fully support just purchasing this and giving it, whether it's a listen or a read for yourself, to make an opinion out of it. Moving past that, I'd say The Seven Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo had huge shoes to fill from different romance ones I read before. This one really astonished me in terms of how well they did the world building, in terms of how she goes from like one husband to another, and how you just like meet all these different characters and just how they build out the cast from here. But it's really interesting how stage by stage you'll meet like one husband and then they'll smoothly transition to the second one and different ones through different stages of her life. From here, this one is I want to die, but I want to eat tteokboki. For this, it was a really good dissection of more mental health and someone writing about it in more of a journal type format in terms of making it more consumable. I really enjoyed Malibu Rising. After reading Seven Husbands, it more dives into the background of one particular character that was in previous ones and sort of going forth with it from there. From here, I'd say that One of Us is Lying is one that I really want to get through, and it's pretty much, I had seen an episode during a flight and I ended up binging the whole series when I got home, and pretty much just wanted to similarly see how the content is, more reading it and seeing where it measures up in terms of a show type format. I'd say for this book is definitely worth a read, as it is far different from what is shown on a TV type format. And this would be my year. And going to the last bit, this would be my sort of slightly not pretentious review of David Chang's book, but pretty much him talking about his struggles and being really blunt about getting where he is today. But that's my wrap about all these different books. I hope you enjoyed listening to it, watching it, and I hope to make more to come. Thank you for your time today. And if you made it this far, don't forget to be awesome.